Do you know what silence does to people? No, I'm not talking about that peaceful, meditative kind. I mean the kind of silence that crawls under their skin like an itch they can't scratch. The kind that makes them question every word they ever said to you, every action they ever took against you. It's a symphony of chaos, a quiet storm that brews in the corners of their mind, festering in ways they never anticipated, in ways they couldn't have ever imagined. When you stay silent after the disrespect, when you withhold the comfort of a reaction, it becomes a weapon that dismantles them slowly, silently, and with a kind of precision they cannot defend against. They thought they knew you, but now they're waking up to the fact that they were wrong, dead wrong. They thought they could toy with you, belittle you, push you around and leave you broken. But in their arrogance, they failed to realize one simple truth. Disrespect is like fire, and silence is the ocean. It drowns them. Every action, every word, every glance they directed your way with disdain, every time they crossed that line, thinking they could push you without consequence. Each one of those moments now weighs heavily on their conscience, but they can't say anything. They can't fix it. They can't undo it, and they're stuck with the unbearable pressure of it all, trapped in a mental cage of their own making. You see, silence doesn't just tell them that you don't care. It tells them that you've seen enough. You've seen through their lies, their manipulation, their deceit, and now you choose to exist outside their reach, out of their grasp. And that is the thing that haunts them the most. Your refusal to respond to their disrespect is not just a sign of your strength, it's a reminder of how powerless they've truly become. Their need for validation, their need to be right, their need to see you react. It all crumbles in the face of your quiet indifference. They want you to fight back. They want to provoke you into an outburst, to see you react with the same fire they threw at you. They think they can provoke you, press your buttons, and that you'll break, that you'll lose control. But your silence, your calmness, sends them spiraling into a place they never thought possible. They thought they had you all figured out. They thought they could predict your every move, your every emotion, but your silence confounds them. It's the worst form of punishment because it forces them to deal with the repercussions of their actions alone, without the satisfaction of watching you break. They wanted you to fall apart so they could feel like they had won. But now, they are the ones drowning in the weight of their own guilt, knowing that there is no audience, no reaction from you to show them that they've even affected you. Your silence says it all. It tells them that they're insignificant, that their opinions and their disrespect mean nothing to you. It drives them mad, forces them to question their self-worth, and leaves them spinning in a cycle of self-doubt. They will try to push you, to provoke you again, hoping that maybe this time, maybe if they say something just a little bit more cruel, you'll snap. But they won't understand that with each failed attempt to get under your skin, they sink further into the hole of their own making, because they are the ones losing. They are the ones who are left with no choice but to confront the reality of their behavior. Their cruelty, their disrespect, their manipulation, it all becomes too heavy for them to bear. And yet, there's no relief. They can't apologize because they know the damage is done, and they know that your silence is a reflection of a truth they can no longer escape from. You no longer care. They might try to convince themselves that your silence is just a phase, that you'll eventually crack, that you'll eventually speak up, that you'll eventually come crawling back to them, hoping for reconciliation. But deep down, they know the truth. They know that your silence isn't weakness. It's a declaration of independence, a rejection of their power over you. It's a final curtain falling on their stage, and they are left standing in the spotlight, exposed, knowing that the show is over. They wanted to see you broken, humiliated, begging for mercy, but instead, they've been left alone with the weight of their own decisions. Your silence doesn't scream, it whispers, and those whispers echo in their minds long after they've left your presence. Do you understand what it means to sit in your silence? It's not just avoidance, it's a deliberate choice. It's an act of power. It's telling the world that you no longer need validation, that their words don't shape you, that their disrespect can no longer reach you. You've transcended their petty games, their childish attempts to break you, and you stand on a higher ground. And it's in that stillness that they feel the most pain. They thought they could silence you with their words, but instead, you've used silence to strip away their masks, their facades, their pretenses. And now, they are left exposed in ways they never imagined. They never thought you had it in you to just let them fall into the abyss they've created. But now, as they look around, they realize that no one is coming to save them. No one is listening. No one cares. And it's all they're doing. But here's the kicker. The true depth of your silence doesn't just haunt them now. It will haunt them forever. It becomes a shadow that follows them everywhere they go. They can't escape it. It will creep up on them in quiet moments, when they're alone with their thoughts, when they can no longer drown it out with distractions or noise. They will replay their actions over and over, wondering where it all went wrong, wondering when they crossed the line, wondering why you no longer care. And each time they think about it, the weight of their disrespect presses down harder, a constant reminder of their own failure. And that is what they will carry with them. The knowledge that their disrespect has left an indelible mark on them, a mark that can never be erased. They'll look back and wonder what they could have done differently, but by then, it will be too late. Your silence doesn't just affect them in the present, it becomes part of their future. Every time they think they've moved on, every time they think they've found peace, your silence will emerge like a ghost, a memory that lingers in the corners of their mind, reminding them of the person they once disrespected. It's not something they can outrun, not something they can hide from. It's a truth that will follow them until the end of their days. And the most terrifying thing, they'll never be able to fix it. There is no apology, no grand gesture, no redeeming action that can take away the truth of what they did to you. They will live with that truth forever, knowing that they hurt you, knowing that you have left them in the dust. And all the while, you will move on because you know your worth. You know that the silence you've embraced isn't a sign of defeat, but rather a mark of your power. You're not waiting for them to come to their senses. You're not waiting for them to apologize. You've already moved on, and they know it. They know that they are irrelevant to you now, that they no longer matter in the grand scheme of your life. And that's what makes them squirm. That's what makes them panic. Because in their hearts, they know they've lost you for good. And that, my friends, is the ultimate punishment for those who dare to disrespect you. It's not your anger. It's not your pain. It's your absence. It's the fact that you no longer care. So let them stew in their regret. Let them drown in their own guilt. Let them try to make sense of the mess they've made. But know this, your silence is the final word. It is the answer to every question they'll ever ask. It is the sentence that will echo through their mind for the rest of their lives. Your silence, the one they never saw coming, is the thing that will haunt them in ways they never imagined. Your silence is not just a void in the conversation. It is a storm that churns quietly beneath the surface, and it reverberates with a power that none of them can anticipate. You see, silence is the weapon of the wise. It is the tool of the ones who know that words, no matter how sharp, are fleeting, but silence is forever. It lingers, it settles, it gnaws at them. It becomes the soundtrack of their regret, the constant reminder that they were wrong, that they crossed a line, that they pushed you too far. and they know that they will never escape it. There's something profoundly unsettling about silence after disrespect. It's not the same as an angry shout or a confrontation that burns itself out. Number. It is the quiet that settles into a person's bones. It doesn't make noise, but it makes its presence felt in ways they can't escape. At first, they might not recognize it. They might even try to dismiss it as you just moving on, letting go, as if it's nothing more than an empty gesture of indifference. But as time passes, the truth settles in. They begin to feel that gnawing sensation, that creeping discomfort of knowing that they have lost something precious, something intangible, something that will never be returned. And what's worse, they know it's their fault. They know that they pushed you to this point. They know that their words, their actions, their disregard for you as a person is what caused this silence to fall between you. You didn't just become quiet by accident. You didn't become cold because you wanted to punish them. You became silent because you saw them for what they were. You saw the truth of their character. You saw their cruelty, their egos, their fragile egos that demanded validation at the cost of your dignity. And you chose not to engage with it anymore. You chose to rise above it, to move beyond their childish games. But in doing so, you have created a ripple in their lives that will never stop disturbing the waters. Your silence is the pebble that was dropped into the pond, and its ripples will extend far beyond what they thought was the safe shore of their own comfort. You didn't just disappear from their lives. You made it clear that they were no longer worthy of your attention, no longer deserving of your energy. You turned your back on them, not with a dramatic exit or a loud declaration, but simply by not reacting, not responding. And in doing so, you delivered a blow they weren't prepared for. It wasn't the kind of wound that would heal with time. It wasn't the kind that could be forgotten. It was the kind of wound that would eat at them, that would dig deep into their consciousness and constantly remind them of their own failings. You see, people who are used to being able to manipulate or control others have a hard time understanding how to deal with the reality of someone who simply doesn't care. They are used to seeing others react, to seeing others give in to their taunts, their insults, their cruelty. It feeds their ego. It satisfies their need for power. But when they meet someone who is unbothered by their actions, someone who refuses to play their games, that's when the real fear sets in. You've shown them that their power over you was nothing more than an illusion. That silence of yours is the death of their fantasy, the death of their belief that they can have any control over you. They've taken you for granted. They thought you would be the one to chase after them, to beg for their approval, to seek their forgiveness. But when you chose silence instead of submission, it shattered their sense of self-importance. And now, they are left with nothing. They are left with a void. And in that void, they are forced to confront the truth of their own actions. Your silence is a mirror that forces them to see who they really are. It's not about what they've done to you anymore. It's about what they've done to themselves. They have alienated themselves from someone who was once willing to give them their time, their energy, their affection. They have turned their back on a person who valued them, who cared for them, only to find that the very thing they were seeking was the one thing they could never possess: your respect. They cannot demand respect from you. They cannot manipulate you into giving it to them. You've already taken it back, and now, as they live with the silence, they are forced to sit with the emptiness they have created in their own lives. Do you know what that does to a person? To sit with the knowledge that they have no one to blame but themselves for the loss of something they once held close. It is a deep, gnawing pain that eats at their soul. It starts as a whisper of doubt, a murmur in the back of their minds. And as the days go by, as the silence between you grows, that murmur becomes a constant clamor, a roar that cannot be ignored. They start to replay every interaction they had with you, every word they said, every action they took. They start to wonder if you ever truly cared, if you ever truly valued them, or if they were always just another person in your life who had the privilege of your time. And with every passing day, the reality becomes more painful. They begin to realize that they weren't just disrespecting you, they were disrespecting themselves. They were disrespecting the bond you shared, the trust you once placed in them. And in doing so, they've fractured something that can never be repaired. And now, as the days stretch on, they begin to ask themselves, what have I done? What did I lose? And in the deepest, darkest parts of their psyche, they know the truth. They know they've lost you. They know that they've crossed a line that can never be uncrossed, and that your silence is the proof of that. It is a relentless truth that continues to haunt them. No matter how much they try to bury it, to numb it, to ignore it, it lingers and it eats away at them. And here's the truth. They will never forget the day you stopped responding, the day you stopped caring. They will never forget how you quietly, without fanfare or drama, detached yourself from their world. The emptiness they feel now is not because of what you did, but because of what they lost. They thought they could disrespect you, tear you down, and that you would always be there, waiting for them to come back and apologize, to beg for reconciliation. But you didn't do that. You didn't wait. You didn't beg. You simply became quiet, and in that quietness, you stole their peace. They'll search for comfort in other places. They'll try to find someone else to fill the void you've left, but they won't be able to. They'll never be able to replace what they had with you. They'll never find someone who can see them as you did, who can offer them the same trust, the same loyalty. The damage has already been done, and your silence, your refusal to play along with their games, has left them with nothing but the bitter taste of regret. You've given them a lesson they will carry for the rest of their lives. You've shown them that disrespect has consequences, and those consequences aren't always loud. They're not always dramatic. Sometimes, the consequences of disrespect are just as quiet as the silence you've chosen. But make no mistake, this silence will haunt them in ways they never imagined. It will linger in the corners of their mind, growing louder with every passing day. It will be the thing they cannot escape, the thing that reminds them, every time they look back, that they were the ones who lost. You have given them a silence that they will carry with them forever, unforgiving, unrelenting, and so much more powerful than any word you could have said. And when they find themselves alone, when they are haunted by the ghosts of their actions, they will realize that they have not just lost your presence, they have lost a part of themselves. You took that from them, and they will never get it back. They thought they could disrespect you without consequence, that they could trample on your dignity, undermine your worth, and that somehow, in the end, they would still walk away unscathed. But here's the truth. Disrespect never leaves the person who does the disrespecting in the way they expect. No, they think they can hurt you, leave you behind, and move on with their lives. But what they don't understand, what they can't see, is that when they hurt you, they hurt themselves in ways they cannot even comprehend. And the silence you've chosen, the absence of reaction, that decision to simply walk away from their chaos, is the final sentence. The punishment they thought would come in the form of your anger, your tears, or your begging for answers has not materialized. Number. Instead, they are left alone with their actions, with the knowledge that you are no longer available to them and that they have no one else to blame but themselves. It is a painful realization, one that they will carry for the rest of their lives. They might move on, pretend to find other distractions, to fill the gaps with new faces, new situations, new comforts. But deep down, they know that the one person who truly mattered is gone from their life, not because of some petty argument or some loud, dramatic fallout, but because of their own choices. It's a burden that will weigh them down. No matter where they go, no matter how far they run, they cannot escape it. It doesn't matter how many smiles they plaster on their face, how many times they tell themselves that they're better off without you. They know the truth. They lost something irreplaceable. They lost you. And with that, they lost the part of themselves that they will never recover. And let's not pretend that this realization doesn't eat at them. Every single day, in the quiet moments when they're alone with their thoughts, they will be reminded of what they did. They will replay every word, every action, every moment they chose to disrespect you, belittle you, take you for granted. And with every passing day, the regret will grow. It will seep into their bones like poison, spreading through their veins, slowly destroying any peace they once had. Because they didn't just disrespect you, they disrespected their own integrity, their own moral compass, and now they're forced to live with the consequences. They will never be able to escape the truth that they crossed a line they can never uncross. The power they thought they had over you, the ability to hurt you, to make you bend to their will, none of that matters now. And it's not just about the loss of you, it's about the deep, gnawing fear that has crept into their soul. You see, when someone disrespects you, they often do so because they think you will always be there. They think they can take advantage of your kindness, your patience, your willingness to give, because deep down, they feel entitled to it. They think they can step on you, use you, and that you will always return to them, always come back begging for their approval. But your silence is the most terrifying thing they could have imagined. Your absence sends a message far louder than any scream or argument ever could. It tells them that you are no longer available to them, that you no longer need their validation, that you have moved on in a way they cannot fathom. And this realization is what gnaws at them in the middle of the night, what haunts them when they close their eyes and try to escape the consequences of their actions. Every time they try to reach out, every time they try to make things right, they will be met with the same response. Nothing. No response. No reaction. You have moved on, and they have no place in your world anymore. The silence you've chosen, the indifference you've cultivated, is more powerful than any apology or explanation they could offer. It renders their attempts to regain your favor meaningless. And as they sit there, wondering what went wrong, they will feel the weight of their own guilt crushing them. They will know that they had their chance, that they had you in their life, and they squandered it. And now, they will have to live with that knowledge for the rest of their days. Do you know what it's like to live with that kind of loss? To live with the constant ache of knowing that you let something valuable slip through your fingers, that you destroyed something that could never be replaced. They can distract themselves for a while. They can try to fill the emptiness with other people, other things, other distractions. But nothing will ever fill the void that you left behind. No one will ever be able to replace the trust, the connection, the bond that you once shared. And they will know this. They will feel it deep in their bones, and they will know that they did it to themselves. They had you, they had the opportunity to treat you with the respect you deserved, to appreciate what you brought into their life. But they didn't. And now, they have to live with the consequences. And here's the worst part. The longer they try to deny it, the more their mind will turn on them. The more they will question themselves. They will begin to wonder if you ever truly cared, if they ever truly mattered to you. And this uncertainty will eat at them from the inside out. They will be forced to confront the truth that at one point they mattered to you and they didn't appreciate it. They will have to wrestle with the fact that the one person they could have relied on, the one person who truly understood them, has now become a stranger to them, and that's a feeling that they will never be able to shake off. Your silence will follow them everywhere they go. It will be the shadow that lingers in their mind, the ghost of their past actions that they cannot escape. It will creep into every relationship they try to form, every new connection they try to make, because they will always know, deep down, that they did something unforgivable. And no matter how much they try to fill the space with other people, with distractions, with new experiences, the silence you left behind will never go away. It will be with them forever, reminding them of the person they could have been, of the things they could have done differently, of the bond they destroyed. And no matter how much they wish they could undo it, they know they can't. They might try to convince themselves that they are better off without you, that they can move on and forget you, that they have found new ways to cope with the loss. But it won't work. It never works. Because the truth is, they never thought they would lose you. They thought they could keep pushing, keep testing your limits, and that eventually you would come back, begging for their forgiveness. But when you walked away and refused to engage, when you chose silence over conflict, you took away their ability to fix it. They can never take back what they've done, and that knowledge will gnaw at them every day for the rest of their lives. In the end, they will never be able to escape the truth of their actions. They will never be able to undo the damage they've caused, and they will have to live with the knowledge that the one person they could have treated with respect, the one person who could have been by their side, is now gone from their life forever. And that, my friend, is the ultimate punishment. Not the anger, not the fights, not the loud confrontations. Number. The real punishment is your absence. The real punishment is your silence, and they will never get it back. Not ever. They will carry the weight of their mistakes for the rest of their lives, and in the quiet moments when they think about what they lost, they will realize that it was never just you they were disrespecting. It was themselves. And that is a burden that no amount of time, no amount of distractions will ever lift. In the end, your silence isn't just a response. It's a powerful statement of self-respect and strength. The disrespect they showed you has now become their burden to carry, a weight they'll never be able to escape. You've taken back your power, and in doing so, you've made it clear that they can no longer affect you. Your absence, your quiet resolve, is the one thing they will never be able to reclaim. They will carry the regret, the guilt, and the haunting knowledge that their actions cost them something irreplaceable, your presence in their life. And that, ultimately, is the greatest consequence they could ever face. They will never get it back.